So my toxic trait is I think that I can do any style, and I ain't got nobody's beautician license. I ain't got nobody's hairstylist certificate. But at the end of the day, who gonna check me? So long story short, I saw this style on Instagram and had to have it. So I'm gonna break this tutorial down step by step. That way, as a beginner, you can achieve this look as well. So the hair that I used is this Cuban Twist by Equal Shake and Go. And this was almost enough for a full head. And when I say almost, y'all, I only had 2 twists left and ran out of hair. And then for the curly pieces, I used this synthetic blend by Organique in the texture Water Curl. And then this is the braiding gel that I use, which is by Eben New York. So before I get started, I go ahead and separate the hair. And the Cuban Twist hair was already separated for me, but for the curly hair, I cut that off the weft and then separate it into like medium pieces. And y'all go ahead and save yourself the trouble. Do not make the mistake I did with the synthetic blend. Just go ahead and get human hair. So first things first, you need to part your hair. And some of you may already know this, but for those of you that don't, I'm gonna put you up on game, okay? Y'all see that computer in the background? That is me watching myself part the back of my head so I can get clean and crisp parts. I learned this trick off Instagram. I saw somebody else do it and thought it was genius. All I did was set up my phone on a tripod. I did the screen mirroring with my iMac, and I set up the camera so that I could see the back of my head while I parted. And as my grandma would say, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Y'all, I have been doing my own hair for years, and parting my hair has never been easier. So after parting, the first step is to start your twist. Now I start my twist off by braiding, and I do this for multiple reasons. The number one reason is because it's going to make the twist more secure. Now I know that there's more than one way to start a twist, but this is just also the most way I feel comfortable with doing it myself. I've seen some people like start it as like a rope twist, but you can imagine like when you're doing your own hair, it's gonna be very hard to start a rope twist on the back of your head yourself. So just keep that in mind when you're choosing a method on starting the twist. So I'm gonna show you how I do this a couple more times as well. So I use my hair as the third strand. I fluff out the end strands of the Cuban Twist, and then I just start the braid, and I braid down quite a bit until I feel like I have a secure base to start the twist with. And so before we move into the next step, which will be how to start the twist after you start your braid, I want to talk about the hair that I chose. If I had to do it all over again, I would not choose the Cuban Twist hair. And that's specifically for me because the texture was a little bit too coarse for me. Like, by the time I finished my hair, like my fingers were raw from twisting the hair because that's how coarse the hair was. And nevertheless, the style still turned out beautiful. Of course, the twists are still lasting. I've had this style in for about 3 weeks. I just want y'all to keep in mind that you do not have to use the exact hair that I use to achieve this style. There's many other Afro texture or Marley hair on the market that you can use. And of course, there's different levels of coarseness as well. And based off whatever hair type you choose, it can change the overall appearance of the finished look of the twist, such as the kinkier the hair, the kinkier the twist will look. The smoother the hair, the smoother the twist will look. So with all that said, the parts are looking good. Like I said, best parting hack that I've ever seen. And we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next step. Once you've braided your hair down and you're ready to start your twist, you're going to separate your hair, which should be that third strand, into 2 separate pieces. Then you're going to twist each piece of hair while you're also doing the 2-strand twist. So twisting each strand between your fingers as you also do the twist really helps keep all your twists looking nice and uniform, and it helps blend in your hair with the twist so you don't have any pieces sticking out. So I slowed it down just for a visual to help y'all understand, but you'll do this all the way to the end. But we're gonna go ahead and move to the next step, which is adding in the hair. So what I do to feed the curly pieces in is I fold the piece of the hair about 1/4 of the way down. Then I use the exact same twisting method to secure that piece of hair in place. And then after I've twisted down some, I pull out the long piece that's gonna stay out of the twist, and I hold that in my mouth because I'm doing my hair myself, but you can clip it to the side. And then I continue to use that same twisting method until I get to the end of the twist. And so I'm going to show you again a little bit zoomed out so you can see it from a different angle. This is just the way that I like to secure my pieces. I've seen people do it with crochet after all their twists are done, but to me, that's just more time consuming. So I'd rather do it this way. But of course, there's more than one way to feed in these pieces, but you do want to be mindful of the fact that these are twists, not braids, so these pieces can be pulled out very easily. So now moving on to the very last steps, which is adding the curly hair in at the ends. So once I've twisted the hair down almost to the end, I'm going to use the same method to add in that curly hair with the twist. The only difference is I fold the curly piece of hair in half so that there's even amounts of hair on both sides when I finish the twist. It was so hard to film this part and keep it in focus with the camera, so I do apologize for any out of focus parts, and I hope that it's not that difficult to understand with the visuals. But essentially, I'm going to keep twisting the hair down until there's almost no kinky hair left, and then I'm going to take one of those small pieces of kinky hair and twist it around the ends. And then for the very last step, I'm going to take a dab of nail glue, and I'm going to continue wrapping and then press it together between my fingers to seal the ends of the twist with the hair. And that is it. That is the last step. So here is the finished look. I really am in love with the finished look. The only thing that I want to say, which is the same thing that I mentioned earlier, is just save yourself the trouble and get human hair and not synthetic blend or synthetic hair. Even though the next day I added the foam to seal in the style and help smooth those strands, in the long run, like, they still ended up tangling. And while it looks good, that just does not sit well with my spirit. So next time I do this style, I definitely will be using human hair, and I think I'm going to try to do the knotless look with this style as well. So that is it. Thank y'all so much for watching. I hope this tutorial was easy to follow for a beginner. Let me know if you try it and how the tutorial worked for you, and until next time.